You either ride that wave or that wave rides over you. And I'm telling you, after tomorrow night, a new wave of hope and change is coming to Hawaii, and we're going to ride it to victory.
As governor, I will push forward your cause and put the full weight and support of the executive branch of government behind you, your families, and your community.
And welcome back, everybody. We're coming to you live from the Hawaii Convention Center. This Race for Washington Place, a live gubernatorial debate. And interestingly enough, in our last interactive poll, personality came up first. Not to say that issues aren't important, but at least we have an opportunity to see some personality. And we're going to have a little bit more opportunity to see some personality in just a moment from now. Before we get back to our scripted questions, we want to go to that interactive question number 3. So this is kind of interesting. It doesn't actually specifically say which candidate, but the question is, do you feel the candidates in general have done a good job of answering the questions tonight? Text A for yes, B for no, and we'll get your answer at the end of this segment. I'm sure you both look forward to that. Okay, this third segment, this is an opportunity now where the candidates get to ask questions of one another. It'll operate like this. Mr. Iona has the first question of Mr. Abercrombie. He could either ask a question or go back to something that was said earlier tonight. Once you ask him the question, Mr. Abercrombie, you will have 1 minute, and then Mr. Iona, you will have 30 seconds to respond, and you each have 2 questions or statements to pose toward one another. So, Mr. Iona, you have the first opportunity, sir.
Well, following up on furloughs, Neil, you've just stated that, that you would put a stop to all furloughs for public employees, which would cost our taxpayers approximately $190 million. 2 weeks after one of us is sworn in as Hawaii's next governor, we will have to submit a biennium budget and a 6-year financial plan to the state legislature. Specifically, how would you make up the cost of furloughs for public employees?
I'll give you the specifics right here. A new day in Hawaii. Recovery and reinvestment plan. The Lieutenant Governor has spent an inordinate amount of time tonight telling us why we can't do things. This administration for the last 8 years has said to us, here's why we can't do things. An Abercrombie administration is going to get things done. We're going to take action from the very first day. We're going to go after all those federal dollars. If you think, if the Lieutenant Governor thinks that he has found all the federal dollars, by no means has he at all. When the Schatz Abercrombie administration gets going, believe me, I'm going to be sending Brian Schatz out there to see to it that we get every dollar that we can. And as for furloughs, public employees are the most under-resourced resource that we have. Public employees are ready to step forward and make the suggestions that we need to have in order to see that we can get the mission done with the people we have and the dollars we have to expend.
And Mr. Iota, you have 30 seconds to respond to that.
Well, once again, you didn't answer the question, but more importantly, what you failed to do again is, and I can't believe you said this, but are you telling me that for 20 years you've been in Congress and you haven't revealed to us where all the federal money is, Mr. Abercrombie? In any event, I got 15 seconds left, and I want to acknowledge whether or not that plan is the plan of the plan. I'm a little confused on your plan here. But anyway, your plan, and I read it, it doesn't tell me how you're going to fill this gap of $190 million.
And Mr. Abercrombie, you have a minute. You could use it in any way you choose. Or you have a question to ask, and then Mr. Iona has a minute to respond to your question.
Yes, I do. Perhaps we can get to the question of how we utilize the dollars we do have. The State Historic Preservation Division has become dysfunctional. It threatens the protection of cultural and historic sites. Some sites may even be taken over by the federal government. The National Park Service has made it clear to us that this has been a problem for years. Business, small business, large business cannot get done because of the dysfunction in the Historic Preservation Division. Why hasn't the current administration, your administration, Lieutenant Governor, allowed this to happen, and what did you do to try and stop it?
Well, first of all, it's not my administration. You had a chance to run against Governor Lingo 4 years ago, and you should have done that. It's her administration. But more importantly, More importantly, Mr. Abercrombie, I do agree with you. The State Historic Preservation Division is in need of some restructuring. I think the National Forest Association's status that they put it on right now in regards to it being in need of restructuring is something we can use as a catalyst to build upon. I think the leadership should come at a higher level. I will pay particular attention, personal attention to what needs to be done. You're right, it is about cultural and historical preservation, and as such, it needs to stay, and it needs to work properly. You mentioned something also that was very, I think, very relevant, and you said that it's been, they've had problems for years, and that's exactly right. When we took over that, the administration in 2002, we did have to deal with a lot of those problems that had occurred prior to 2002.
Well, I think
You have 30 seconds.
I appreciate that, but if you knew there were problems in 2002, then why wasn't it handled? I think that's a legitimate observation. It's not meant personally. None of this exchange between the Lieutenant Governor and myself is personal. These are issues that have to be settled and resolved. And it is a legitimate question to ask. If an administration was there for 8 years and for the last 6 had the opportunity to deal with this and did not do it, I think I am well within the bounds to ask for the opportunity to do it with a new administration.
Mr. Iona, once again, you have a question that you could ask or a statement that you could ask Mr. Abercrombie to respond to.
Ben Cayetano, in his last years of being governor, stopped ceded land payments to Native Hawaiians and OHA. One of the Lingo Iona administration's very first active acts, Executive Order 0303, reversed the Cayetano decision and started those payments again. Who was right? Governor Cayetano or Governor Lingo?
Well, I can't speak for Governor Cayetano, nor can I speak for Linda Lingle, but I can speak for Neil Abercrombie, and Neil Abercrombie is going to see that those payments are made.
You have 46 more seconds if you choose.
That's 46 seconds closer to November 2nd when I can get on. When I can get on with the opportunity to make the payments that are due.
No, I'll go.
You have 30 seconds to respond.
Do I have to respond to that, or
You have 30 seconds to use as you choose.
As I choose. I want to go back, if I can, then to when Mr. Abercrombie referred to federal funds, and in regards to furloughs, and talking about this administration not using the federal funds for furloughs, or in that regard, I'd like to say this. I think you better check the record, and you better check the limitations and the requirements in regards to using federal funds. We did use all of those funds that we had for education. It becomes a choice now in regards to the Department of Education, in regards to how they want to close that gap. And again, we're talking about labor savings, and to infuse federal funds for a reoccurring cost, such as labor, to me is fiscally irresponsible.
Okay. Mr. Abercrombie, you have another opportunity to ask something or rebut a statement earlier made.
That's fine with me. I don't have a question. I think we ought to get on with it.
Well, then let me ask a question. This is something that we saw this morning, as recent as this morning's paper, and it's become a high dollar, a high big business event, the act of politics. In this morning's paper, the two of you spent a combined amount in excess of $5 million in the run for the primary. We've seen in California and New York governor's races where candidates spend upwards of $15, $20, $30 million of their own money. Is there a way that you see in any foreseeable future to change the dynamics so that maybe some of these millions of dollars can be used in a better way to help the people of Hawaii? And Mr. Abercrombie, let's let you go first.
There's no question about it. I stand before you as a candidate who participated in the last election in this country in which there were campaign spending limits. I was in a race with the sons of two very well-off men. Their fortunes were made here in Hawaii. Their sons were running for office and a bank vice president, and I was able to succeed because neither of the other two candidates that I mentioned, nor the third candidate, was able to spend any more money than I did. The First Amendment ruling by the court in Buckley versus Vallejo the following year, 1975, opened up the opportunity for free speech to become purchased. It's no longer free. It's the best that money can buy. What we need to do is to craft a law which sees to it, and I would be pleased to start it in the state of Hawaii with my administration, pleased to return to the time when everybody was equal and there were campaign spending limitations.
Mr. Iona?
Well, for someone who's talking about running within, campaign spending limits and requirements, Mr. Abercrombie chose not to. And as such, he raised a lot more money than I have. But I just want to point out this. It is a matter of free speech for many people. And if you look at my records, if you look at the people who have contributed to my campaign, you will see that a majority of my contributors have been people who are like every one of you in this room right here. Every one of you who are out there in the audience, the television audience, $25, $50, those kinds of amounts. And that touches my heart, but it also touches, I think, the nature of this campaign and what campaigns should be able to do, which is to run at the level they want to run in. And we made a decision very early on that we're going to run a grassroots campaign. And that's exactly what we've done for the last few months and years that we've started campaigning for this office.
Thank you. I said we were going to talk more about personality, and this is an opportunity for both of you to take a deep breath, and we could all just kind of relax and maybe have a moment of levity or two. That one interactive question number 2 says, people more so, the highest percentage, vote for personality rather than political party. That in mind, let's throw all politics aside. Each of you, you've been working hard. It's been a grind. You've been traveling island to island, community to community, and we commend both of you for that. We thank you very much for the effort that you have both put in. But now you get to forget about all of that. So here's the scenario. You got 24 hours to do whatever you want, beginning with you, Mr. Iona. Describe a perfect day in the life of Duke Iona.
Oh boy, I've been dreaming about this. I said I tell a lot of my supporters, I'll say, I just want to wake up and somebody will tell me it's November 3rd. But actually, what I want to do is I want to sleep with my wife until the cows come home. I mean, I just want to sleep, and hopefully she doesn't get me up with her snoring. Sorry about that, Viv. But really, it's just right now it's a matter of just focusing on what I need to do for the next 21 days. And, because supporters give so much, and I do thank you for that compliment for both sides. What our supporters do for us each and every day is just so humbling, and we just have grateful hearts. And I'm going to work as hard as I can for the people who have given their money, who have given their treasure, who have given their talent. I'm going to work as hard as I can for the next 21 days, and we'll see whatever happens on November 3rd will happen. But I want to thank all of you, both sides, Neil's side as well as my side, for everything you've done. You elevate the office that much more. And if there's anything that we need for our people to get engaged in our government, especially our young people. So mahalo to all of you, but don't mind if I sleep in the next day, okay?